Welcome. In front of me is a REALME 14 Pro, and today I'll show you a couple tweaks and the tricks you can do on this device. So, to get started, you will want to open up Settings, which I already had it open, and from here we're going to begin by navigating into the wallpaper and style, which we have a bunch of options to change the wallpaper and styles. I'm not really going to talk about the wallpapers, this is boring, but we do have things like themes. Now those will change your wallpaper on top of just general kind of look of the device. As you can see, we have different fonts as well and just styles, but then you can also download more. So we have more themes. Now I am connected to Wi-Fi, so you do need that to actually have more and be able to download more. And you can see we have the different styles, different wallpapers and all that stuff. And then we have things like fonts, icons, always on display. And then below that we have additional interesting things like colors. This refers to colors like these right here, and also these right here, which is a pretty neat way to just customize the look of your device. I do want to point out though, with the colors, when you change it from the standard one to any of the other ones, in the settings, all the icons will have the same color, as by default they do have this kind of variety of colors. And then fingerprint animation, so you can change it when you press your finger to the display. I do actually like to turn that off myself, so that's what I'm going to keep at. I do want to also point out with the fingerprint animation, you do still have this flash. This is just because of the way how the actual fingerprint sensor works. So it shines a lot of light to illuminate your finger, and then sees the actual like fingerprint itself. So because of that light, you cannot get rid of it. So if you tend to get flashbanged by that at night, if you're trying to unlock your device, that's not going away with any of these options. And lastly, we have edge lighting in here, which is just a kind of like a subtle edge lighting you can see for notifications and other stuff. Now going back and moving on to the home screen and lock screen, here we have the home screen mode, and we have the drawer and standard. I think standard might be enabled by default, so if you like to have your applications pulled out from the bottom up, so you have all your apps alphabetically organized and not on the home screen, that's the option that you probably want. And if I remember correctly, oh no, never mind, this is not a device with categories, so never mind. I also have the drawer layout, so you can make it a bit tighter, so more icons are fitting in here. Now I personally find it to be a little bit too claustrophobic, so there we go. Now another thing in here will be the swipe down on home screen option. I do want to also point out this will only apply if you are using the default launcher. So if you have some other launchers that you like to use, like Smart Launcher or Niagara or anything else, this option will have no effect. It will cease to kind of work. But what this allows you to do is select what will happen when you swipe down on your home screen. And by default it's set to global search, but there's a better option, at least that's what I like, and that is the notifications and the quick settings. So now no matter how far down I start to swipe down, it will always get me my toggles and notifications, which is pretty handy. Now going back, actually there was one last thing in here which I just got a glance of, and that was the wallpaper carousel. This is enabled by default if you haven't changed that, and it's the random wallpapers that are on your lock screen that just alter through. If you want, you can turn them off in here, and yeah, there we go. Now moving further down to the display and brightness, here we have the light and dark mode, and you can turn it on permanently by choosing one of these options or have it set on a schedule. This one will be the better option, as it allows the device to automatically switch from light to dark mode once it starts to get dark outside, as in when it's sun goes down and stuff like that. So your device will automatically swap. And the reason I find this to be the better option is because I tend to flashbang myself with my phone when I'm going to be using it at night. When I wake up, want to check time and just, I don't know, mess around because I just kind of woke up. With the bright mode like this one, you just get absolutely flashbanged by this. There's no way around this. The white, no matter how dim it is, it's still kind of bright when you wake up at night. So dark mode will be a much better option in those scenarios. And obviously during the daytime and direct sunlight, when summer rolls around specifically, it will be much easier to see the display when the background is white like it is right now with black text. So basically this option does both of those things. Now scrolling further down, we have color, screen color mode. This just defines how vibrant and saturated your display is. By default, it is set to vivid, which is egregiously oversaturated. You can see this specifically in the red colors. So we have also natural and pro modes. Now on the pro modes, we have cinematic using the display P3 mode, and then brilliant. Now this one supposedly should be, I guess, calibrated as P3 gamut, but doesn't really look like it, to be completely honest. The red is still just so vibrant that I don't see any detail in it. And natural seems to be the most toned down color, where it starts to look a little bit more reasonable. You can just clearly see, specifically like the red colors are the worst one. So anyway, that's one thing that I can change. And scrolling further down, you have the temperature. So this allows you to choose what the tint of the display will be. So we have the presets like warm and cold, which is kind of like reddish and more bluish tones. As you can clearly see them highlighted when I just select one of them. Or you can just move this thing around. Now, wow, on here, usually just a subtle little difference. This is like completely just straight in there, visibly whatever color you pick. Anyway, moving on, we have adaptive tone, so automatically adjust the screen color temperature based on the ambient light. AKA, to explain this for people that don't know, if you enable this, the display will match the kind of look of what's around here, for instance. Now on camera, I definitely see the difference, but I feel like this is more accurate right now for the camera. Now the reason I'm pointing that out is because when enabled, this changes the tint of the display visibly to me, and it is now significantly more kind of yellowish in tone, something that the camera isn't picking up fully. So to you it might look normal, to me not so much. But what it is doing is it is using the camera right here to see the environment lighting. And for instance, if you have a lot of warm light, then the display will turn more kind of yellowish color to imitate the warm light and how that surface should have been kind of reflecting that light. So typically, for instance, when it comes onto something like a table, when you have a warm light, that light will hit the table and reflect off of it. So that it will work a little bit different than, for instance, when that light hits your display. At that point, it's not really reflecting off of the display is illuminating it. So whatever the display chooses to illuminate, or in whatever way, like if, for instance, I go back into right here, if I have it set to, which one was it that allowed me to actually move this around? Oh, okay, I can't actually move it around now with the option being enabled. But if I were to move it like fully to, let's just say, green color, right? So at that point, no matter how warm or cold the light around here would be, the display would always be shining in this green tone, which isn't representative of the lights around here. But with that option that I have enabled, it would see that the light is warm and then change, instead of green, to this warmer yellowish reddish kind of tone to imitate what table, for instance, would be reflecting. So it's going to try to match other things around in terms of how it thinks the display should look like in this kind of temperature. And this might sometimes end up with a display looking like just genuinely like a piece of paper almost, instead of a screen that is reflecting. So when the brightness is matched and the other things, it just might straight up look like you're looking at just like a colorful printout, So these are kind of like weird things that you might sometimes see. But anyway, moving on. Bright HDR video mode. This is just converting normal standard dynamic range video into HDR, assuming the video player is supported. So increase screen brightness when playing HDR. Oh, actually, sorry, it's actually not the case. Here it's just going to make the HDR video brighter. So that's about it. And another thing in here, which I don't think I will be able to show, is the full screen for apps. So a full screen display, and yeah, we have no apps visible in here. But what this will do is, if you ever opened up any kind of application, maybe like a video player, and you were watching a movie on there, and you make it put it in the landscape mode, and from there, sorry for that, and when it's in landscape mode, you have it full screened, and it's still showing you this kind of bar right there. You could go in here and see if the application that you're using to playback is supported in here, and then you can make it so it's going to be forced into full screen, which at that point you will just end up with basically this kind of effect with just a dot in a screen. So we can check that out. This one is, we go customize apps, there we go. So here you can actually, this was actually right here for the app selection. So yeah, in here you can choose what app will be selected, and by default it looks like all of them are set to auto detect or adapt, more like. So auto adapt sometimes might not work correctly, and in certain other things it also might kind of break it. So just kind of show you a quick example. So if I were to go into, just go Google and turn off the dark mode. So in here, as a quick example, with applications, for instance, like the browser, you can make it be always in full screen. And you can see right now when I swipe, it is keeping the status bar separate from the rest. You can make it go full screen, force it, and therefore the status bar will be kind of removed or fully transparent, and you can have your browser go all the way to the top of your screen. Now I'm pointing that out is because if you were thinking about doing something like that and you experience some weirdness with the keyboard interaction, you might want to deselect that application from doing this kind of thing. As I experienced that forcing specific applications into this kind of full screen that do have a keyboard messes up the position of the keyboard, which then messes up the actual like usability of the application. So something to keep in mind if you are experiencing some wonkiness happening when you enable this. Anyway, let's see what else we got in here. So notifications and quick settings. This is actually another great option, as these devices do have the status bar option. And in here, you can choose what kind of icons, specifically these ones right here, will be showing up. And by default, most of them will be enabled. It looks like default NFC is now off, which is interesting. Typically you would have it on, and NFC is turned on all devices out of the box. So that's nice to get rid of it if you tend to use your phone for payment with, like, you know, the in stores. Then you probably want to hide it, as it serves you no purpose knowing that it is enabled, as it might be just enabled permanently, as well as other things like Bluetooth, do not disturb modes, and some other things that you might not be interested in seeing. And additionally, in here you can change the battery style, so you might choose it from horizontal, vertical, loop, or do not show. And you also have the percentage. Now with the percentage being inside, the horizontal version of the battery is the only option that has the percentage inside of the battery. If I were to change it to anything else, it will now be shown outside of it. And also in horizontal, you do need to select it to be showing it inside of the battery. And just to demonstrate this, if I were to change it, you can see this option disappeared now, and this is the case for all of them apart from horizontal. And another thing in here is the notification icons, which are these right here. So I have Google and Play Store right now, and you can have them show as they always show, or you can just sum it up to a single number or just not show them at all. Now with the number, you can actually see we have more than 2 notifications, as right now it's showing only these 2. With the number, it's showing me way more, 4. So that is also another thing. Now, that basically sums up the things that I wanted to show you. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.